new announcement by Afghan Taliban government and a very senior official, Taliban's Deputy Prime Minister, Mullah Abdul Ghani Brother. He has urged Afghan traders to explore alternate routes and do not remain dependent as far as trade is concerned with Pakistan. What does this mean? Why they have come to this particular decision that boycotting trade with Pakistan?
Pakistan is Afghanistan's biggest trading partner, and Pakistan is also Afghanistan's biggest export market. So if Afghan Taliban are under the misperception that they are going to pressurize Pakistan by reducing the trade ties with Islamabad, it is going to harm and cause more pain to the Afghan economy and Afghan society than Pakistan.
This closure of trade is quite serious development. These friendly countries can put some pressure on Afghan Taliban so that they could change their stance vis-a-vis this terror groups based on their territory.
Pakistan will welcome the international community's efforts,
engagement
to remind Afghan Taliban of their international commitment and international obligations, which unfortunately they have avoided for the last 4 years.
What is the future of this region? Security, economic future of this region?
The future, unfortunately, does not look very promising, primarily because it seems that it is dominated by the Indian desire of regional hegemony. And it has used terrorism as an instrument of policy against all its neighbors.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello and welcome to program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, as far as Pakistan-Afghanistan relations are concerned, the last round of talks for peace, for developing a consensus understanding on ceasefire that held in Turkish city of Istanbul could not yield any result. There is a new development today. Since the conflict erupted between Pakistan and Afghanistan, the border trade between two countries remained closed. That is affecting and having a great negative effect on, particularly on Afghan traders. Pakistan's exports to Afghanistan and Afghanistan's exports to Pakistan, that means Pakistan's import from Afghanistan, remain closed. Pakistani authorities have made it clear, particularly in last briefing, Pakistan's Foreign Office spokesperson made it clear that human lives and security of Pakistan remains more important than trade. So in addition to this, we have also witnessed there was a deadly terrorist attack at Cadet College in South Waziristan city, Wana. Although Pakistani security forces successfully cleared the college, rescued all teachers and students from inside in the college, but it raised many questions. And according to sources, whatever information which was shared with the media, the attackers were in touch again with their masters in Afghanistan. So there are still emerging and complex issues as far as security situation is concerned. But we'll start with this new development that Afghan's Deputy Prime Minister Mullah Abdul Ghani Brother urged Afghan traders to explore alternate routes. If they explore alternate routes other than Pakistan, for their trade with other countries, that might be very, very costlier. So the trade routes with Pakistan remain economical. Afghan traders earn huge money, huge profits by selling their fruits, vegetables, spices, dry fruits, and many more things in Pakistani market. To discuss this all, what prompted Afghan Taliban government to announce and urge Afghan traders and business people not to do trade with this, and particularly the security angle, security situation, blast in Islamabad, terror attack in Cadet College in Wana, we are fortunate to have with us Senior Strategic Affairs Analyst, Dr. Syed Muhammad Ali Saab. Despite his busy schedule, he has spared time and participating in our program. Very warm welcome to Program Insight, Dr. Syed Muhammad Ali Saab.
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Mateen sir.
It's always a pleasure to have you in our program. So I will begin with this new announcement by Afghan Taliban government and a very senior official, Taliban's Deputy Prime Minister Mullah Abdul Ghani Brother. He has urged Afghan traders to explore alternate routes and do not remain dependent as far as trade is concerned with Pakistan. What does this mean? Why they have come to this particular decision that boycotting trade with Pakistan?
Mr. Mateen, I think currently Pakistan-Afghan bilateral relations are undergoing a very acrimonious era. And if we look at it from a framework, I think there are four dimensions of the relations. There is a political dimension, there is an economic dimension, there is a security dimension, and there is a diplomatic dimension. And unfortunately, the relations in all these four dimensions are less than cordial right now. If you look at the diplomatic dimension, the last three rounds of talks brokered by Turkey and Qatar have failed to convince Afghan Taliban from living up to their international commitments and obligations regarding ensuring their territory is not used by any terrorist organization. Secondly, it has also broken down the temporary ceasefire because of two very blatant and dangerous attacks, one in the heart of Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, and another targeting Pakistan's future military officers in a cadet college in Wana. It reflects Taliban's resolve that they will continue terrorist attacks inside Pakistan, and they are not willing to consider peace and responsibility towards Pakistan, despite its 4.5-decade-long sacrifices and support and hospitality towards the Afghans. The second aspect is the security aspect, and you have witnessed exceptional rise in terrorism against Pakistan from Afghan territory in the last 4 years since Afghan Taliban took over in Kabul. And only this year, the counterterrorism operations have led to the killing of more than 1,700 terrorists by Pakistani military and law enforcement agencies, most of which were those individuals who were supported and planned from Afghanistan. The third dimension is the economic dimension, which you just mentioned. And it is unfortunate because this reflects an irrational behavior from the Afghan Taliban leadership. Because Pakistan is Afghanistan's biggest trading partner, and Pakistan is also Afghanistan's biggest export market. So if Afghan Taliban are under the misperception that they are going to pressurize Pakistan by reducing the trade ties with Islamabad, it is going to harm and cause more pain to the Afghan economy and Afghan society than Pakistan. Because according to Federal Bureau of Revenue, I think more than $500 million are earned by the modest and dwindling Afghan economy by selling its goods to Pakistani markets. Secondly, you also know that Pakistan provides port access and a trade corridor for Afghan transit. And if Pakistan reciprocates this irresponsible announcement by the Afghan Deputy Prime Minister by shutting down and closing the access to the trade corridor and also the access to port, then it can cause serious misery to the Afghan society and economy. Pakistan will also face inconvenience, but it is not something that Afghan exports to Pakistan are indispensable. They sell Pakistan fruits and vegetables, but Pakistan can obviously purchase them from alternative sources. But what they get from Pakistan may not be affordable or readily available to the Afghan traders. Iran and Central Asia are not favorable substitutes for geography, history, and several reasons. Iran is under international sanctions, whereas Central Asian markets are distant and more expensive. So the impact on Afghan economy will be far worse than whatever impact they hope to cause on Pakistani economy. And the fourth dimension is the political one, which is somewhat complex. There are four power centers in Afghanistan. The ideological power center is Kandahar, whereas there's a power struggle between the militant leadership, the Haqqanis, and the political leadership in Kabul, whereas the diplomatic arm is led by the Doha group. So I think these four groups seem to have a power struggle going on between with each other, which makes it difficult for them to meet international obligations, and which also indicates that they're continuing to behave like a non-state actor, like a militant organization, instead of an organized, responsible, inclusive government, which not just international community, Mateen Saab, but most of the law-abiding and peace-loving Afghan people also expect and demand. But it seems that the Afghan government is more interested in working and behaving as an Indian proxy to promote terrorism rather than to emerge as and use this rule as an opportunity to gain international recognition and respect and attract international attention and cooperation through responsible behavior. But it seems that is not their choice right now.
Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali Saab, what is the role of friendly countries? Although in your earlier response, you mentioned that third round of dialogue that did take place in Istanbul, but due to negative response by Afghan Taliban, it faced deadlock. But this closure of trade is quite serious development. And related to this, of course, Pakistan during Istanbul dialogue and during Doha dialogue repeatedly urged Afghan Taliban to act firmly against terrorist outfits, particularly this Fitna al-Khawarij, Fitna al-Hindustan, which are also known as TTP. So due to the friendly countries' pressure, particularly with Turkey, because Afghan Taliban also enjoys very good relations with Turkey, with Qatar. Qatar, their political office is based. These friendly countries can put some pressure on Afghan Taliban so that they could change their stance vis-a-vis this terror groups based on their territory?
I think Pakistan will welcome the international community's efforts
engagement
to remind Afghan Taliban of their international commitment and international obligations, which unfortunately they have avoided for the last 4 years. It can be any country. It can be Mr. Trump, as he once claimed a couple of weeks ago. It can be Qatar, it can be Turkey, or it can be Iran, or it can be our Arab friends and brothers. Whichever member of international community believes that it can play a meaningful and constructive role in reminding and convincing Afghan Taliban that it is in their own interest to live up to international obligations, to meet international commitments, to fulfill Doha Accord, to ensure its territory is not used for terrorism, against any of the countries, particularly Pakistan, to eradicate the drugs trade, and also form an inclusive government which respects human rights, particularly for women and children, then this will help reduce the problems and challenges that the Afghan nation has been facing for the last 4.5 years, 4.5 decades. I think the focus of the Afghan government should be towards facilitation, accommodation, and support for those millions of Afghans who are returning from Iran and Pakistan. The World Food Program mentioned a couple of days ago, more than 2.5 million Afghans have returned recently from Iran and Pakistan alone. So their focus should be to facilitate them, to accommodate them, to help them restart their lives and contribute towards the development and progress of Afghanistan, rather than facilitating and harboring terrorists who are launching deadly attacks against very neighbors, which provided them support and hospitality for more than 4 decades. So it's very irrational and tragic, not just for this region, for Pakistan, but also for the Afghan people.
Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali Saab, since I mentioned in the beginning, and you also mentioned about this very unfortunate Wana terror attack. So security forces remain engaged for more than 48 hours to eliminate three terrorists who were hiding inside. But with the blessing of Allah Almighty, the cadets, students, and teachers and other admin staff remained safe due to very intelligent and very careful operation conducted by security forces. But my precise question is, in this attack, the attackers were in touch again with the handlers in Afghanistan. Whatever information we received through security sources, that clearly indicates that there was direct communication by the attackers with the handlers, with their masters in Afghanistan, which again endorses Pakistan's narrative that terrorism is emanating from Afghanistan. There are people, there are terrorist leaders, terrorists who are based in Afghanistan and continues to send these militant terrorists in Pakistan. And this Wana terror attack is a clear example. So your thoughts, please.
I think your question reminds me of the UN report which was released early this year, which proved that Afghanistan, unfortunately, has become another epicenter of global and regional terrorist organizations. And there's hardly any neighbor or member of international community which is not concerned about the rise and revival of terrorist organizations operating out of Afghanistan. And it seems that Afghanistan is providing hospitality and support and facilitation to these terrorist organizations, rather than those poor millions of Afghans who are returning to restart their lives. Be it PLA, be it TTP, which are Indian-sponsored terrorist organizations fighting against Pakistan, or be it Jaish al-Adl, which is operating out of Afghan territory against Iran, be it ETIM, which is operating against China, be it IMU, which is operating against Central Asian countries, be it Daesh and Al-Qaeda, which have designs against Western powers, including Europe and USA. And you would also recall the US annual intelligence threat assessment, which ranked terrorism as the greatest threats to US national security. And it mentioned clearly on its page 7 that Pakistan is a victim and a target of the TTP, which has links not just with Taliban, but also with Al-Qaeda and Daesh. So Pakistan is fighting this war against terrorism, not just for its own survival and security. It is the first line of defense on behalf of the international community, on behalf of the entire peace-loving world, which considers terrorism a threat to international peace, security, and stability. So it is very important that the international community plays its role, both diplomatically and in other ways as well, to support Pakistan's effort so that this menace of terrorism emanating from Afghanistan can be decisively and ultimately defeated, and this region and the world peace and security can be restored.
Dr. Syed Mohammad Ali Saab, there was another unfortunate incident on 11th of November, that is on Tuesday, in the heart of Pakistani federal capital, Islamabad. After many, many years, then Islamabad faced another suicide terror attack. Pakistani Prime Minister, in his condemnation, made it clear that it was with the facilitation of India that this statement has been published everywhere in the world. So, how do you see the statement made by Pakistani Prime Minister, again hinting at Indian involvement through Afghanistan? So, what could be motive behind striking in Islamabad?
I think these two targets and its timing indicate three very clear things. The timing immediately after the breakdown of talks in Turkey proves that the Afghan Taliban used these three rounds of talks only to waste time
Exactly.
and save themselves from Pakistan's retaliation. They have neither the will nor the capability to restrain TTP. In fact, they seem to be encouraging them more than the previous attacks, because the scale, the nature, the timing, and the choice of targets indicate that they want to target judiciary. Why? Because they want to give a signal to the judiciary that if you are going to implicate and punish terrorists, you could be a target. This is a warning to the judiciary. The second target was very similar to one of the most heinous and tragic incident in Pakistan's history. 11 years ago, you remember, school run by army in Peshawar was brutally attacked by the terrorists. And we lost almost 146 young, innocent children who had no ill will or, against anybody. So 11 years later, immediately after the failure of these peace talks, it seems that Afghan Taliban are just as ruthless, just as merciless as they were 11 years ago. Again, they chose not Pakistan Army, not Pakistan Police, not our law enforcement agencies, but the children who are there, who are students, who have no ill will against them. And there were more than 500 cadets and 40 teachers. And I think I paid tribute to the professional excellence, the care, the responsibility, and tact of Pakistani counterterrorism forces, Pakistan's Special Services Group, Pakistan's Zarar company, which has a legendary reputation in successful counterterrorism operations in situations like these. And they ensured that all the terrorists, were eliminated, and not one child, not one student was harmed. So that is wonderful, and this entire operation was minute by minute monitored and directed by the Chief of Army Staff, Field Marshal Asim Munir, who had a direct role in passing instructions and monitoring the situation closely, which proves that our military leadership is deeply committed towards the peace and security of Pakistan, protection of life of our children, and also elimination of terrorism. But it also indicates that our enemy is so ruthless and so callous that it wants to target innocent, poor, educate students, children. So this is an evidence that they have no humanity, no respect for law or human rights at all, and they deserve no mercy either from Pakistan or from international community.
Dr. Since this Pakistan-Afghan conflict, you and me have been watching television debates, programs, and these all things. There have been also called that all political parties in Pakistan on this issue of terrorism emanating from Afghanistan and ties between Pakistan and Afghanistan, they should be, all parties should be on one page. But one political party remains out of that page, and instead, their statements have been quite very, very unfortunate as far as role of the armed forces are concerned. And we have seen the statement of the chief minister received so many condemnation from teachers, religious parties, journalists, and many, many more. Why it is so? Why they are so indifferent? Because it is such an issue where there should not be any two opinion.
It's unfortunate, and my short comment would be that I think as this war escalates, which I fear it will in the weeks and months to come,
It will escalate.
the choice of these two targets indicate that the targeting strategy of Afghan Taliban has changed, and they are not very successful in attacking Pakistani armed forces or military targets. So they are resorting to attacking soft targets. So that is evidence that they're not very successful in gaining access to the military targets. Secondly, in terms of its strategic significance, it is important because for any militant organization, if it attacks poor, unarmed, peaceful civilians, be it in the court, be it in the cadet college, then its implication is that its public support, the emotional and psychological and social support, declines because they have, in order for them to become successful, to promote their agenda, they have to gain the sympathy and support of the local society. And such targeting strategy indicates that they are desperate and they are not successful in targeting the military. So they are resorting to attacking soft targets. And once they do that, you will see in days and weeks to come, this will cause a huge decline in whatever sympathy is remaining for them. And it will, in days and weeks to come, you will witness the resolve and the popular support for a successful and decisive counterterrorism operation will increase across party and political lines. Because those people who are under the naive impression that these people should, be engaged in talks and negotiations will realize that these people have no respect for life, for children, for women, for religion, or any ethics. There is no common value which can be shared in a respectable, law-abiding, free society. So once, I think in the days and weeks to come, I hope the support for a successful and counterterrorism operation led by Pakistani military and intelligence services will increase.
I would like to seek your comment on one question. What is the future security scenario of this entire region? We have seen bomb blast in Delhi. Unfortunately, the Godi media blamed Pakistan. We have seen this attack in Wana. Again, handlers were in Afghanistan. We have seen Islamabad attack. Again, it was facilitated by Indian proxies. Keeping in view this all and closure of trade, what is the future of this region? Security, economic future of this region?
Mateen Saab, my short comment to your profound question would be that the future, unfortunately, does not look very promising, primarily because it seems that it is dominated by the Indian desire of regional hegemony. And it has used terrorism as an instrument of policy against all its neighbors in the last 77 years, be it Mukti Bahani in East Pakistan, be it Tamil Tigers in Sri Lanka, be it anti-China elements, be it Maldives, be it BLA and TTP in Afghanistan. So there is hardly any country in South Asia which is free from Indian interference or support of terrorist organizations. Unfortunately, Pakistan is the only country in this region which has the will and the capacity to provide a balance of power in this region. And we have resisted Indian hegemonic designs diplomatically, intellectually, and militarily. And I think Pakistan's nation and leadership and state institutions are determined that they have successfully done it and will continue to do it. And the very fact that India has resorted to greater reliance on terrorism rather than conventional means is an evidence that it has realized that engaging Pakistan militarily, directly, honorably, via conventional or strategic means is no longer an affordable option for New Delhi. And inshallah, with the support of our people and international community, we will also defeat the threat of terrorism and expose Indian design globally as well as before its own voters and taxpayers.
Thank you so much indeed. And the takeaway is Pakistan will definitely defeat the nefarious designs of enemies that might be in the western border or in the eastern border, and internal security challenges. Pakistani security forces are already overcoming internal security challenges. There are hundreds of intelligence-based operations every day across Pakistan just to defeat and neutralize and eliminate militant and terrorist networks. Thank you so much for a very insightful discussion, conversation on some of the very, very emerging issues as far as Pakistan-Afghanistan relations, security situation in entire South Asia, challenge of terrorism, and etc. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.